The wardrobe at Joe's door. Her text arrived at 8:47 p.m. A single line. "I'll be working overnight with my boss Joe tonight. Don't wait up." I stared at it longer than I should have. The glow of the screen bled against the darkness of my office. No heart emoji. No softening words. Just logistics, clipped and precise, like an invoice. Joe, her boss. I typed my reply with mechanical fingers. "Thanks for letting me know." Then I set the phone down. My hand didn't shake. My pulse didn't race. It was silence that filled me. A silence sharp enough to cut skin. The house was still. Her perfume lingered on the pillows, a faint trace of rose and something artificial beneath it. I opened her closet. Dresses, blouses, shoes lined with obsessive neatness. Her second skin. The mask she wore in court, at dinners, at home when she pretended love was still there. I pulled down the first hanger, then the next. Soon her world was in boxes, sealed with tape. Methodical, clinical. By midnight I was standing outside her law firm's glass building, a fortress of mirrored windows. Her CEO's name etched in metal at the entrance, Joseph A. Mercer. I left the boxes stacked neatly at his office door. At 4:03 a.m. my phone rang. Her name lit the screen. I let it ring until the silence returned. It wasn't the first time. Subtle fractures had spread across our marriage long before this message. Late nights explained away by court filings. Whispered phone calls in the garage. The perfume of a woman I did not know, clinging to her after strategy meetings. At first, I buried the doubts. Partners in law firms breathe their work, I told myself. They eat filings, drink deadlines, sleep on briefs. It was plausible. It was rational. But rationality has an edge. It cuts when you press too hard. Her eyes had started to avoid mine during dinners. She smiled at nothing on her phone. And when I touched her hand, it was the hand of a stranger, limp, unresponsive, absent. I wanted to ask. I wanted to break the silence. But questions give power to liars. And I would not hand her mine. So I observed. Quiet. Detached. Every detail was recorded. Every inconsistency catalogued. I lived in silence, but inside I sharpened my thoughts into weapons. The text was not betrayal. It was confirmation. And I knew, once confirmed, the law of truth would demand execution. I began with her phone. Not by taking it, but by watching her reflection in windows as she typed. Her smile when a name appeared. Her swift, guilty swipes when I entered the room. Joe. Always Joe. A partner. A CEO. A man who thought power made him untouchable. I checked her car mileage. The late nights didn't match the distance to the courthouse. I pulled receipts from her purse. Wine, dinners, a hotel 2 blocks from his office. Still, suspicion is smoke. I needed fire. So I hired a private investigator, a quiet man who preferred silence over explanations. Within days, he gave me photographs. Her hand brushing his arm at a restaurant. Their silhouettes crossing a hotel threshold at 1 a.m. His report came with timestamps, room numbers, payment slips. There it was, the truth, neatly packaged, notarized in reality. I stared at the photographs alone in my study. My chest was hollow. No rage, no tears, only silence. I folded the report, placed it in a black envelope, and waited. Patience is the cruelest revenge. She stumbled through the door that evening, hair tangled, excuses ready. "Deposition ran late," she muttered, kicking off her shoes. I said nothing. I only slid the envelope across the kitchen counter. She froze, the kind of freeze that shatters masks. Her hand trembled before she opened it. Photographs spilled across the marble like blood. Her eyes darted to me, wide, pleading, searching for softness. I gave her none. "It's not what you think," she whispered, voice cracking. I didn't blink. It's exactly what I think. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. She wanted tears, she wanted rage, she wanted a scene she could control. But I stayed silent. Silence was the knife she could not stop. Her world was unraveling, and I simply watched. At dawn, I drove her wardrobe to Joe's office. Every dress, every heel, every fragment of her curated image, boxed and labeled. By the time she called at 4 a.m., the boxes were already stacked outside his glass door. His name gleamed above them like a judge's verdict. Her voice on the phone was frantic, panicked. "Where are my things? What did you do?" I let her scream into the silence. She would find them soon enough. She would see the message written without words. You belong where you've chosen to lie. No confrontation, no courtroom drama, just truth, stripped of disguise, left like evidence at the scene of her own crime. And when Joe arrived at work, he would see what she had cost him. The CEO, exposed not by scandal, but by a wardrobe dumped at his door, a symbol too loud to ignore. Her betrayal, dressed and boxed, was no longer mine to carry. She returned home at sunrise, hollow-eyed, shaking, demanding explanation. But explanations are gifts. I owed her nothing. I watched her search the empty closet, watched her body crumple against the bed frame as if gravity had tripled. Every sob was proof. The mask had shattered. I walked past her, suitcase in hand, the house echoing with silence. No words of parting, no closure offered. Closure is not given, it is taken. And as I locked the door behind me, I realized the truth. Her betrayal had freed me. The final judgment was not rage, not violence, it was indifference. She no longer had the power to break me, because I no longer cared if she lived or drowned in her own lies.